Hello, and welcome to Philip Brown's Computer Networking Lab. You're watching the instructional video called DNS Records and Properties. We'll go back to the administrative tools so we can access the DNS console. We'll open up on the forward lookup zone. Now let's take a closer look at philipbrown.local. Here we see the records to an IP address. The A is for IPv4 and the AAAA is for IPv6. Also, we have the canonical name, which allows us to create alias for the computer names. And we also have mail exchange records to make it easier for foreign computers to find the mail servers. And we also have access to a number of other type of records that could possibly be used. Now let's create a new A record. We're going to want this to connect the computer name to an IP address. We'll use PC1 as a sample and connect it to a specific IP address. Any clients on the network will be able to find PC1 IP address by accessing the DNS server. Notice when we go back to the reverse lookup zone, they have a pointer record showing the IP address going to the PC1 computer name. Now let's create a canonical record or an alias record. We have to decide what alias we want to give this computer, whether it's www, FTP, mail, or whatever. And then we have to connect it to the server, first by going to the actual server, then choosing which forward lookup zone to go to. And finally, pointing it to the specific record we want to use. Now FTP and DNS1 are considered to be the same computer. They both will point to the same IP address. Now let's look at the properties of DNS1. We can see that they have a number of tabs available to us. Here we have the interfaces that we will be using for DNS. And here we have the forwarders, where if this DNS does not know the IP address of a resource. And here are some advanced attributes we can use in configuring the DNS server. These root hints are all DNS servers that our DNS server can use in case it does not have any forwarders. It's usually considered to be a security risk, so let's put in a forwarder so we can remove the root hints. Normally you would either have it point to your DNS server in the demilitarized zone, or you will have it pointing to your internet service provider. Now that we've given it a forwarder, we can remove the check mark for it to use the root hints. These are a number of methods that we can use to verify that our DNS server is set up correctly. And this allows us to choose debugging information that we might want to log. Okay, let's cancel out of this. Now let's look at the properties of the forward lookup zone. Here we can set the scavenging age of the records. And we can also set whether we want to allow dynamic updates or no dynamic updates. And here we can change whether it's a read-only server or a secondary server or a stub zone. Notice that the Active Directory integrated zone is grayed out. And we can look at our Start of Authorities tab. This is the beginning place for all the records. There's a number of options here that we can change. And on the Zone Transfer tab, we have three choices. 1, the DNS server can give information to any server, even if it's a hacker server. The second choice is to exchange information only with named servers. And the third choice is to type the information right here in this window. Normally you want to use a name server. Now let's look at the Win server. Win servers are an old way of supplying IP addresses for specific computers. It's rarely used, but for compatibility, we still hold on to it. Let's cancel all of this also. And the properties for the reverse lookup zone are very similar to the forward zone, so I won't bother to go over them. In this video, we learned the basics of how records are used in a DNS server and took a quick look at the properties. In the next video, we're going to use this information to help us build a secondary DNS server which has only read access. I hope this video has been informative, and I thank you for viewing.